In this video, I'd like to talk about my struggles with what I've called the exhaustivity fallacy, and more recently, another way I thought about it was compulsive conceptual hoarding, which especially seems to be a recurrent issue in my content creation, but also sometimes when I'm trying to share my thoughts with someone, like even in a conversation. And so I'd like to kind of explain how it manifests for me and how I'm trying to deal with it, and hopefully maybe you can take some inspiration if you see if you find yourself struggling with similar issues. So I already talked about this topic in a previous video on my content creation journey, but basically I think a good way of explaining what I mean by exhaustivity fallacy or or conceptual hoarding is it works well by contrasting it to its opposite, which you can think of as a lean startup methodology, which is all about experimenting, doing iterative steps, and kind of testing if a product or an idea works in the real world, and then building upon it progressively. So the usual examples they give is you'll start by you want to create locomotion vehicle. Okay, you want to go from a place A to a place B faster than by walking or easier. And so you'll start with rollerblades, and that works. And then you move on to the next phase, which will be like a push scooter. And then you move on to the next phase, which will be like a bicycle. And then the next phase, that's a motorcycle. And when this one you've tested, it works well, then you move on to a car. And that was kind of your ideal goal, maybe a long term, but you kind of do iterative steps to get there. And then exhaustive fallacy or conceptual hoarding is kind of the opposite. Basically, what you want, you don't forget about the car. Okay, we want a space rocket. Okay, that has comes with faster than light travel first try. And if you do anything else, or if you fail to do that, then it's worthless, and it's not even worth thinking about. Like that's the only acceptable standard, and that's the only thing you can do first try. Obviously, it's not very realistic. And so it's a part of perfectionism, but it's like a specific way for perfectionism to manifest itself. I think for me, like there's two main ways it's manifest, at least that I've noticed right now in my life, that I'm struggling with actively or currently, we'll say. And So the first one is kind of trying to get all of my ideas out there. And so I've got like, well, with time, I'm an overthinker, so I'm always thinking about stuff. I've always got new ideas, but with the help of tools, like second brains, like personal knowledge management, etc. I won't get into the details here, but like I've amassed a library of a lot of different concepts and ideas that are all interrelated and that kind of inform my vision of the world and a lot of my ideas and the type of things I want to express in this channel and elsewhere. And so I've got this kind of urge to get everything out there. So that's one way, and every single idea as fast as possible. I want to, like lay out the full curriculum, the format. So that's kind of the Magnum opus compendium version of this exhaustivity problem. And then the second one is like a bloat, I'd say, where in every single content piece. So the first one is I want to get all my ideas out there. So as many as they are, I don't know how many, a lot. And then the other one is every time I do one piece of content, then I got the same urge and I want to put as many ideas in it every time. And so it ends up bloated and kind of it loses some identity. So these are the two main ways that I'm seeing it happen in my life. And so let's get a bit more into the details of each one. So the first one was this idea of getting all my ideas out there, like the perfect, um, theoretical representation of like all my web of interconnected ideas that I find relevant. Um, George Kao I've heard him call it the Magnum opus trap, where you're kind of trying to get all like your entire philosophy. Like for me, it's manifested in me wanting to create a manifesto of sorts that kind of explains or summarizes my philosophy. And you can even see it in the videos I've made on this channel, where I even have a playlist, at least at the moment, where I've tried to present some of the formative or important philosophical school of thought that have influenced my thinking, or that are a good representation for some of my thinking. But basically, this idea of wanting to basically start with the end in a certain way, because like I'm starting. Well, it's been a little while now, but I'm still putting my ideas out there and thinking about them. but I kind of want to have the final product where it's all well laid out, like the full book or the full curriculum. Other ways that this tend to manifest is, wanting to have the perfect sequence of content where like you start, you need to go from an idea to another through a sequence. You need, first A, then B, then C, then D, and you want to do it in the perfect order. And, basically you have to figure out everything before you can start. It's a super like top down, like grasping, controlling vision. And in reality, as George Kao says, but basically the best sequence of content and the best clarity comes from creating. And he's not the only one to have said that. And I agree. And well, I mean, like regrettably, some parts of me don't like that I have to agree, but from experience, it's true that, the more I put stuff out there, then once you've kind of consolidated an idea, at least a little bit, then it brings new space to improve upon it. And so it's like, oh, well, now I've got a better version, but it kind of never ends. And it's the same with kind of sequence, as you get your ideas, you delineate them more and more, then you realize, oh, wait, this should go here instead. And so this kind of compulsion, this urge to have everything well organized and to do it all in this specific way, it's kind of insanity to an extent, at least for me. Yeah, it's everything everywhere all at once in conceptual form. And there's kind of an artistic delusion of grandeur to it. You just want to just just want to show. And also it's kind of self-centered, or what I mean is like it's more about like getting out all the web inside my head. It's not, and so I think there's less of a concern for how it comes across to other people or how useful or how much it will speak to them. So I think it kind of actually hinders the content a little bit, where um, yeah, because the mindset and the best for sharing ideas or kind of contextualizing in a practical way versus a more theoretical way. And yeah, like another reason this doesn't really work in reality is just because like content, at least in this way, like YouTube videos kind of need to stand on their own. I mean, it's okay if you kind of reference to maybe another one, two, maybe three other concepts where you can say, well, I made a video about this. But if you start having too many, where it's basically, okay, in order to understand this video, you need to watch these other 15 videos I already did, nobody's going to actually do that. It's not going to work. Even if I manage to implement this grand ambition, it kind of would be self-defeating in the first place. I think part of working on it or improving is just like I've kind of, with a few experiences lately. Well, and I mean, it's kind of being humbled by life is a continuous process that never ends. But in this specific regards, I've kind of realized I'm less for like I'm further back along the path or my journeys than I thought. I kind of thought, because I've spent a lot of time working on my ideas in private and kind of I've got already like a decent amount of interconnected ideas. Like I kind of thought this mean now it's time to kind of lay everything down and have the perfect map. But basically, I don't think that's it's too soon. I still need, basically now I've entered a new phase where I'm actually kind of starting to put things out. But I think I need to be in this phase of kind of working on them, kind of working through my thinking, accepting the process of it, seeing how other people relate to different things and what's more useful or which ways of presenting an idea, or kind of how to frame it so that it's most interesting. And then once I've got a decent amount of experience doing that, I can start maybe, doing more of a curriculum or structuring all of that, and, maybe for like books or courses or whatever the hell it ends up being. I think that trying to do things this way has kind of brings up two different problems. As I said, the first one is that it's kind of it's a bit too detached, and I kind of like doing this, or it's kind of a platonic ideal in my head of, this very theoretical ideas, and it's just interesting for the sake of the idea. But a lot of people don't really interact with, content or knowledge this way, and even I feel like, yeah, it can help express better an idea if I kind of contextualize it in something concrete. So, for example, right now I'm talking about like a specific subset of perfectionism, and I'm relating it to my personal experience. So it's pretty concrete for me. Like it's not just theory. I'm kind of giving example, and it's something that's alive in me right now and that I'm struggling with. Yeah, I think I want to try and do more of this type of content instead of the more kind of, detached theoretical. And I think another problem with doing it with the very like this is my curriculum is that I come off as more authoritative. It's kind of like teacher like, and like this is I'm explaining life to you. and I don't really feel that level of authoritativeness, or like there can be a bit of a mismatch, and I think it can also wrongly set some expectations with the people that watch the videos. So I think I'm going to try and transition more towards what George Kao calls public journaling, where it's kind of I blend a little bit more of the what I used to do in my journey logs, which is more about my personal experience, and then a little bit more of concept, but meshed together. And also, I think I need to be better about thinking about how I can relate these ideas to other people in a way where it might be useful for them, where it's less theoretical. It's kind of like through embodying, let's say, an idea or concept within an experience, a lived experience, whether it's my own or some other examples, then it can kind of it can make it more real and or more applicable, I guess. So I'm going to try to do this, and I think it's also kind of emphasizing through my content and the way I do it that it's kind of a work in progress. And I'm kind of thinking through things rather than kind of clinging to this false idea of viewing the perfect version of a piece of content. I think that's another way with this conceptual hoarding where I want to do every single of my ideas. I want to do them perfect, and then I never have to modify it anymore. I just can say this is my finalized version. But I don't. Yeah, I think I'm going to try and graduate from this mindset and be whatever. It's okay if I cover the same idea, same concept. Like I've already covered this concept a little bit through different videos, maybe with a different spin or with new insights as I go because I've learned more through experience. Basically, I think to an extent it's about kind of letting go a little bit. Like it's fine if I don't do my best at explaining an idea right now. I mean, to be honest, let's see, like given the context, the production value of what I'm doing and all, like I mean, this is not the best version I could do theoretically, or but whatever, it's okay if it's good enough. And if I'm more transparent, I think about the process, that this is a process and I'm kind of working through it. And maybe at some point later on I'll be in a place where I can kind of crystallize it better, and it'll be then that's okay. But I think it's probably a good idea if I try to be, more chill, let it go, release, release the idea. I think to make a comparison with blogs in the kind of blog sphere, there is this concept of digital gardens, and digital gardens are blogs, but the difference with a typical blog is that it's less, they have less of a chronological structure. Like you could usually in a blog, it's the aesthetics is that everything is already well done, finished, polished. Is the one and well done version, and then they're all ordered one after another by time, and they're done, they're finished. And whereas in the digital garden, nothing is really finished. Everything is more interconnected. This idea is connected to this idea, and there's less of a chronological um, ordering. And another important idea is that basically it's fine to, on the digital garden, it's fine to publish work in progress. So you've got a post that's half done, but in exchange, you just have to be better. In exchange, one of the ideas is to be more transparent about how much work, how much certainty, and how much research has gone into a piece of content. So I think I can probably take even more inspiration and do this a little bit better. So in some ways, this is kind of a YouTube channel, digital garden, or I mean, it's less interconnected, but it's kind of in progress as I'm going. And I think I can probably do a better job of being transparent about like how much thinking. So for example, for this specific video, like this concept, I haven't done any specific research for it. I don't think it's a real term, or maybe it exists and I haven't heard of it. And yeah, I mean, it's just an idea that I've like this idea of like the exhaustivity, the clamping on it. I've been aware for I think at least 1 year or more. But yeah, right now I've had a pretty tangible experience I could wrap the concept around. Whereas in my previous ideas, because this was in my list of to do, maybe this is a topic I can cover, but it was very more academic. Like, okay, so it's related to these different types of ideas, and a little bit more lifeless, I guess. A last benefit I can see to try to be more chill and try to accept the process and the flow kind of, and surrendering to it, is that it can help reduce mismatched expectations, because basically my YouTube channel is going to be talking head videos like this. I I mean, it might improve in that I might get a little bit of better gear, and I might get, probably, hopefully, I'll get better at expressing my ideas and being comfortable in front of a camera and conveying my ideas in an interesting and like nice to pleasant way. But the format isn't going to change all that much, and I don't have all that much time to dedicate to every single video. So I think if I kind of come off as this kind of more academic, I'm going to explain this idea uh, in the way I kind of brand, and or even the way I think about my videos. People that come and kind of click on the video might get a sense that it's like more, more like high quality video essays where they really go into in depth of explaining ideas and all, which isn't really the type of content I'm going to be doing. And so I think it can better align the reality of what I'm doing so that there will be less, potential for misunderstanding. So the other way this manifests for me is this guy. I called it the bloat. I mean, it's not like I thought about this quickly. It's not the best word. I'm sure we can find better, but like I get this urge because I want to get all my ideas out there as quick as possible. Whenever I do one piece of content, and I've got all these ideas of different other concepts and related stuff that I could mention that could be interesting, and so I end up having those super like bajillion ideas um, in every single piece of content. And so, for example, one thing I've been trying to do, and I'm doing it right now, is I'm trying to split down in smaller chunks, because this video you're seeing, I originally intended to do it in a log where I was covering other topics on top of it. And this video is already getting longer than I want it to be. um, and I've already added even more ideas than I had at the beginning, so I'm still kind of in the grip. This is an addiction that's going to be hard to shake off. I'm in recovery and I'm going to relapse, but I'm trying to commit to getting better. But I've already broken down what I was previously one video and at least 3 videos, maybe 4. So this is one of the broken down segments. But yeah, it's hard, and I like yeah, it's a continuous expansion. It keeps growing, and I'm adding more and more stuff. The downsides of falling prey to this urge is that I make longer content, which isn't always a problem, but also like it kind of muddles everything together. I think it's better if I can try to focus on make atomic ideas. Now, this I've mentioned different ideas in this video, but I think it's pretty centered around this general theme, and then it's easier for people to know if they're interested in watching the videos. It's easier for them to find the video again if they're looking for the specific thing. Because if I do a video where like I cover 15 different ideas and they're interested in one of them and they try to find it back, then they might not find it because it's kind of um, drowned in the mass of other stuff. So yeah, moving forward, I'm going to try to give more time and space for every ideas. I'm also going to try to do less outlining for my videos, but this is going to be hard. Um, like so I'm saying less outlining, okay, but this, okay, now it's not, you know depending on your criterion, this is not massive, or maybe it's like incredibly massive, but I don't everything's relative to an extent. But yeah, that's the outline for this video. There's too much. When as I said, like I've been mentioning George Kao because he's one of my main source of inspiration for the way to kind of structure my content. uh, and like what he advises is just to have like 1 to 3 ideas in your head before you start doing the video. At least that's how he does it. But that's a lot more than just like 3 things in my head. And I think to an extent, because it's so long and I've got all these ideas, also like I'm terrified of missing like one idea. And this also happens in conversations with people, but I'm like, oh, this makes me think of this one thing, and like I get really like I get somewhat upset if I can't get to like mention it. And so the same in this video, I'm like, oh, there was this maybe even like a tiny little idea, and I forgot to mention it. And so this is part of why I do these big outlines, because I don't want to forget anything. But yeah, I don't know, like I need to get better at letting go, and maybe if I learn basically to whatever, if I miss a piece, it's not the biggest deal. I can always do it again, and maybe it'll help mm, calm me down and kind of bring a better flow to the videos, because I'm less like kind of cramped and trying to fit everything, and maybe it'll flow more naturally. So I guess I'm going to be practicing this. Probably going to take some time to get better, because yeah, that one feels hard. Um, I'll let you know if it gets better if you're interested. All right, so that's about everything I wanted to say for this video. Uh, hopefully, if you struggle with similar things, you could, take some inspiration to help you in your own endeavors. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching the video.